Where were you on that fatal day?
I'd gone to the petrol station. My mum's called me up. Baby, they got him. This was in the peak traffic, yeah? This happened. My brother's gone down to go and get drugs from this guy. They come down, three of them. Three of them come down. My brother was walking backwards. They were on the road and he'd tripped on the curb going backwards. As soon as he went down, the guy come in, stabbed him, then they all ran off. There was one stab wound in the lower stomach and he bled in.
So he bled internally?
He bled internally.
Jesus.
You killed my brother. You killed the man that made me who I am. You're dead.
Yeah.
You are 100% dead, without a doubt.
Did you manage to get hold of any of these lads before they got nicked?
So,
Paul, welcome to the show, mate.
appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, mate. Mate, some journey you got here, wasn't it? About 5 hours to get here?
Yeah, left at 7 this morning. Traffic's been
Fair
a nightmare.
play, mate. Fair play.
40 mile an hour motorways.
Quality. Let's roll all the way back. Where did you grow up and why have you become such a big advocate for knife crime?
All this started from, I'll start where I'm from. So I was born in West London. I grew up in Hounslow and Feltham area. Didn't have the best of childhoods. I grew up in women's refuges and stuff like that because my dad was a bit handy with me mum. And luckily I was young enough not to have remembered a lot of it, but it definitely played a part in how I grew up. Do you know what I mean? I never ever saw the physical side of it, but I heard it. You know, we're always in the next room. And you know, when you're growing up, I guess as an adult, you just assume that young children would never remember or understand what they're doing. But it truly did have an effect. You know, without a doubt, you know, born with a lot of anger, you know, not understanding why or what, no one explained nothing, you know, and when you're not explained anything, your mind is left to try and figure out why your dad would hit your mum, you know. I could never understand it, even still today, you know. When I got older, skipping like a lot of years, I asked him and he said that he'd made a lot of mistakes and he wished he never done it and he's not that person no more. But I'll go back to the beginning before we get into that. So I remember one day my dad got up and went to work. He used to drive the London buses, double red, you know, the double-decker red buses. He used to drive them and he'd gone out to work and my mum had grabbed the bag, said, we're going, we need to go now. And it was like a mass rush. And then we left, the police were there, we got loaded into a car, and then we got took off to this place where we were all living in one room. And we had a shared bathroom with like 387 women, no men. So I grew up around women, all women that had been beaten and abused. And it's confusing, but I had so much fun in there because I got white hair, you know, like pure white hair. I don't know where this beard come from. Yeah, I really haven't got a clue, but my hair is pure white.
Yeah.
Like, I'm literally a spit of me dad. Yeah, he's got white hair, white beard. He looked like Santa Claus, a skinnier version, you know. And I'd gone in there, I had curly blonde locks. I don't know whether you've seen a picture of my son and my daughters. They're like white, blonde, curly locks, you know. My hair was exactly the same, blue eyes. And all the women in there, they love me. They was like, oh, I wish he was my son. And I had so much attention, do you know what I mean, from all these other people.
How old were you when you went there?
I was about 4 years old when I went into the first women's refuge. And then I was there right away through various different ones, because every time we'd go somewhere, my dad would find out where we was, turn up, and we'd get moved somewhere else. I've been to multiple schools, couldn't settle down because of how many times I've been over 100 schools. I know a lot of people think that's a joke, that's ridiculous, but when you're in protective custody, like under the control of like the police, to make sure that, you know, your mum ain't getting beaten, they will move you instantly. One time I was in a school for 2 weeks and then we moved and I was in another school. You know, it was almost pointless going to school.
Were you moving around the country, or were you moving around southwest London?
All over.
All over.
I've lived in York, lived like Stowmarket. We ended up settling in Felixstowe because he just gave up in the end. He just gave up.
So what was your old man doing? He found out where you live and then coming knocking on the doors, wanting to see you, or be more abusive to your mum?
It was a bit of both. It was kind of a control thing, you know. It was like a dominating. You know, you get them alpha males that want to dominate, and the only thing they can dominate is a woman. So it was kind of like he'd come down, and when he'd come down, it didn't look like he'd come down for her, but it looked like he wanted to hurt her by taking us away.
Yeah, okay.
So he wanted us. So this one time we were standing on a freeway waiting for a bus, and my dad spotted us. He was just driving by, and freakily he stopped on the side of the road, and he grabbed me, picked me up, and said, if you want to see him again, contact me. And he started walking off with me. And then I started going up the road, and I would just remember staring back at my mum whilst I was over his shoulder. Like, he held me, so I was held onto him like a monkey. Do you know what I mean? So his head, the back of his head, and my face was the same direction, you know? So as he's walking away, my mum and my sisters were getting smaller and smaller. And I just thought, I'm never going to see them again. That's it. Like, this man is my dad, and I love him, but he's going to take me. I'm going now. I'm never going to see my sisters or my brother ever again.
Did you ever see your old man beat your mum?
No.
No. Okay.
But I saw the damages after.
Yeah.
Like, they'd go into the kitchen or something, and there'd be all the shouting, smashing. So I saw, if I went into the kitchen, there'd be glass smashed on the floor, and they'd say, get out, you're going to, you know, don't stand in it. So automatically you look down at the floor, there's glass everywhere, you know, and you see all that lot. A hole in the door, you know. Mum's got a split lip, a bit of a red face, bruises on her neck, like, you know, the red bruises that you get, like them on her neck and that. And then I remember this one time, it was like, I can still see what they were wearing. I still see the layout of the house and that lot. I must have been about 5. And I don't know how they ended up in the house together, but they were in the house together. And my mum was in the kitchen, she was ironing. And my dad was in there, and they were shouting, and I was like pacing. I remember I was like sweating, I was pacing, I was thinking, I've got to do something, And the next thing you know, you heard a massive bang, and then it all went quiet, and he comes walking out of the kitchen, calm as anything. His lip was split down there, and there was blood coming down his face. He said, I'll see you all soon, I've got to go, and then just walked out. And then my mum's like breathing heavy, and then she was standing there. I went in, you all right? She was like, get out. But I remember she had the iron in her hand. So she'd smacked him in the face with the iron, and it stopped him. Because I don't think she'd ever, like, retaliated before, which made him feel, I guess, more powerful as a man when you're trying to dominate yourself. And, she smacked him in the mouth with an iron.
How many years was it, do you reckon, as you were growing up, that you then realised, hold on a minute, I need to stop this. I need to do something about this. I need to go and find my old man and have a word with him.
So it was a long time. There was this one time, because my family still live in London, and we used to go up and see them a fair bit. I just passed my test. I was 17 when I passed, and I had a Ford Orion, a white one. And I was really proud of it. I'd paid it off in the garage. Like, do you know when you used to be able to give them cash every week? And then so I got this Orion. It cost me like 1,500 quid or whatever it was. And I was really proud of myself. And we went up to London, showed the family and that. And I drove past this place, and it seemed familiar. I rung my mum up. I said, Mum, I'm over this place. I remember this church. I said, where is it? She said, your dad lives around the corner. And I said, whereabouts? So I drove round to his house. And I wanted to go knock on the door and just be like, you all right, Dad? Because as much as my dad was the way he was with my mum, I know that's like, that anger was to my mum. It wasn't to us.
Yeah.
So I thought, I always wanted a male figure. My mum got married again. He was a horrible man. He didn't like me because I was a spitting image of my dad. I'll get to that. And so I yearned for my dad. I wanted to know what it would be like to have... All my friends had dads.
You wanted that fatherly figure.
I wanted someone that could show me how to be a man.
Yeah.
You know? And that was like That's what drove me. I wanted to know, but I was too afraid to knock on the door. So I writ this letter, a bit of paper in the car. I writ a letter, and I shouldn't have writ it. And it's just a letter saying to Paul, to Paul Stansby, because his name is Paul Stansby as well. And I didn't even call him Dad. I had no reason not to call him Dad. He never didn't earn the role. He never done anything to me to stop me from calling him Dad. I just wanted to hurt him, but I don't know why, because he never hurt me. He hurt my mum. Emotionally, that affects you, right? But for me, I still wanted to know who he was and why. Why did you do that? Like, I didn't understand why you would want to hurt the woman that mothered your children. You married her. I've heard you say you love her. Why would you punch her face in when you were angry? When something didn't go your way, why would you punch her face in?
Did you get to the bottom of that?
Like I said earlier on, when he said, I saw him again. And I asked him the question, and he said, I'm not that person no more. What I've done in the past, I am sorry for, So he owned up to it, which I was shocked with. There was no lie. It was straight talk. It was man to man, real talk. And he owned up to it. But this time I wrote this letter, and I posted it in the door. But I posted it in the neighbour's door, and I didn't realise. I thought that was his house. And it's quite a posh street. My dad's got some money. He's quite high up at BT and stuff like that. He's a hard-working man, like a hard-working man.
Is he still about today?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And years later, I left, but I didn't feel like I was satisfied. I didn't feel like I'd got one up. I didn't feel like anything. I just felt like he needed to hear my anger for a sec.
Yeah.
But I didn't realise how much it was going to damage him. Before you realise trauma, the things you do is in act of you being traumatised. Yeah. And you don't realise it. And then you don't realise that your actions have consequences for other people that feel like that too. And it's only now I understand that. I don't know whether it's maturity. I don't know whether it's my age. But I know that now I am sorry for that letter. You understand?
What did you put in that letter?
I just told him he was a horrible man. He shouldn't have punched up mum. He should have been a better dad. He had some more kids as well, so that made me angry too. And he was really good with them. He's really good with them, like so good.
So as you're growing up then, how did it affect your life at school?
Yeah, like I said to you, I've been at so many different schools. Listen, I'd never had a friend until I got into my teenage years, When you go into these primary schools and middle schools, because London-wise, you have primary, middle, and then upper. Yeah. Like down in the coast where I live now, you've just got primary school and upper school. Yeah. So like the primary school and middle school was hard, mate. I didn't even want to go. I couldn't connect with any adults because I thought all adults were the same, especially the male ones. It was like, God, if I say anything to him, he's gonna whack me. And that's how I saw men. Do you know what I mean? And then so for me, I wasn't very confident around men. I wasn't scared of them. I was wary. And I'm not scared of them because I'm a hard guy. Believe me, now I would rather walk away than choose violence. Yeah. But in the past, growing up, violence was my number one. And that's not me stating, that I'm hard. And I know you'll probably get comments on there going, I'd own him, I'd bully him in my ends and stuff like that. I get it all the time. Yeah. Oh, he thinks he looks hard because he's got tattoos on his face. There's a reason why I look like this, And it's not because I'm an hard guy, because I'm not. I can have a row, but I'm not a hard man. Do you know what I mean? So you grow up not understanding what a male's role is in life. I know what a woman's role is. Yeah. My mum was a protector. Yeah. She was a provider. My mum went hungry so we could eat. She had holes in her clothes so we had clothes. Do you know what I mean? She was the prettiest woman. Like men, I'd see men falling all over her. Do you know what I mean? Trying to be with her. But she didn't want him. She was guarded. She didn't want another man, So
What was your world like after leaving school? What path did you take?
Crime, big crime.
What sort of crime?
Gun crime, knife crime. You know, like I fought hand to hand with police. Like I've had scraps with police. I've done a bit of football violence, collecting. I've done all sorts, car theft, all sorts.
And where did that stem from? Did that stem from like your 15, 16, 17s, or did that stem a little bit later?
So So my mum ended up meeting a new guy. Yeah, this guy was a horrible man, horrible man. But I think mum went with him because she thought my dad would be scared of him.
Right. Okay.
But I've never seen my dad fear nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody. There's no man that can scare my dad. None. But he's a soft guy. He's a kind guy, but he's an horrible guy. Do you understand what I mean?
I totally understand. But normally what happens is they've been traumatised as a kid.
I believe so.
And that's why they are out to protect themselves. Big hard front, but deep down they're a little kid inside.
But
maybe.
not an open man.
No,
he's not an open man, so I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. And I wish I'd knew more about... Because trauma affects everybody. There's not a single person in this world that hasn't got trauma. Yeah. And because of that, people don't understand that. And because of that, we've got suicide. We've got, self-harming. We've got overdoses, drugs. We've got it all because men choose not to see the real effects of what's happening to them. Trauma, Or
men don't want to talk about it.
100%.
That's the biggest thing, yeah.
100%. And so... My mum met this horrible geezer, and because I looked like my dad, he hated me.
And where were you based then when your mum met him? Were you
Sudbury? We was in a women's refuge in Sudbury.
Sudbury, North London, or Sunbury?
Well, you'd call it Sunbury, but it was Sudbury.
Okay.
Yeah, so Sunbury is North London, isn't it?
Sunbury is sort of southwest, and Sudbury, I think, is more north.
Now, I grew up in Sudbury.
Okay.
Yeah, which is next to Great Cornard.
Right, okay.
Which is like, I think that comes under Essex.
Right, okay.
I think it falls under
Essex. So
Essex.
you've been moving around all these schools. It's hard to meet mates when you're moving in and out of
100%.
schools. You're thinking, hold on a minute, I've got no community around me or a bunch of boys to have a laugh with or whatever. You must have felt really isolated at times.
Mate, we grew up, there was me, my brother and my two sisters. They were my friends.
Yeah.
So anyone outside of that, we didn't let in.
Yeah.
And because of that, we grow up, I can see the effects of that with my sisters. Because with my sisters, they struggle to have a group of friends.
Yeah.
Because if, like, them two go out for lunch or something and she's not invited, she feels like they've left me.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
I see it, they don't. And I say to them, you really struggle with having friends. You know what I mean? And I see it and I try and talk to them, but they're like, no. And they'll end up arguing and falling out with them. Yeah. Me, I've got friends falling out all over the place. Yeah. I've got associates all over the place. I really can connect with people now. I
want to go back to the crime. When did the crime start?
So, when my mum, I took years of abuse off this geezer my mum was with.
Abuse is in physical abuse
Physical,
or mental?
Yeah, both.
Okay.
Both.
And what age were you when you were getting physically abused by this new so-called, not stepdad, but your mum's fella?
I reckon I was about 7, 8 years old.
Wow.
7, 8 years old.
Okay.
And we grew up with him in and out of women's refuges. And when we'd be moving, if we needed to move, my mum would go back into the women's refuge. They'd rehouse us. He'd then come along later on. Yeah. So every time they'd split up, they were on, off, off. Yeah. And he'd come with us all the time, and he absolutely destroyed me, mate. Destroyed me. He used to pin my legs over my head until I couldn't breathe no more. He used to like pick me up and slam me on the floor because he used to be into wrestling and all that lot, and he wanted to play fight with me. But everything that he done to me was actual like physical assault, like he really twisted me up, mate. And he was 6'3".
Yeah.
Big guy, big unit guy. Not muscle, fat, do you know what I mean? But he was a stocky guy.
Yeah.
And
how many years was it she was with him until she split, and then you went, hold on a minute, I want to get my own back? Did you ever think, I want to get my own back? And you one day?
Yeah.
How old were you when you were thinking that?
Not far off when my mum got with him.
Okay.
I snuck into the room. I was going to end him. I was a young kid, and I stuck into the room when he was asleep. I figured out the floor plan, everything. But I went in there, I went in there to smack him over the head and just end him whilst he was asleep. I figured out the floor plan in my mum's house, yeah, right the way around, all the squeaky floorboards, everything. I worked my way around the bed, yeah, and I was right there where he was asleep. And I was gonna smash him over the head and then just run back into my bedroom like it never happened. And I was like shaking, and he rolled over. It sounds funny, but he farted, burped, whatever it was, and I just freaked out and ran out. Yeah, because I thought, oh, he's going to catch me, and if he catches me, I'm not going to be quick enough to end him. Because if I hit him and I don't get him right, he's going to wake up, and then I'm in for it. Yeah. I wish I'd have done it. There now, I'm glad I didn't. With what I know now, do you know what I mean? Yeah. But at that
must
time,
have been properly abusive to be thinking that at the age of 9,
mate. Listen, this was right the way throughout. I had many times that I thought to myself, I'm gonna go and do this geezer. Yeah.
What age did he leave? How old were
I
you
was
when he
about
left?
I was about 11 when he left.
Okay. Tell me your route 15, 16, 18, 19, 20, 21 of the crime. Where did the crime start? What did the crime lead on to?
So when he'd left, I was now the man of the house. My brother had moved out. He was in and out of prison. So I was now the man of the house, and I took that role very seriously. Even as 11 years old, I was like, I need to protect. I plotted my house up, not my house, my mum's house. I plotted my childhood home up. I had screwdrivers next to the bed. I had one above the door frame. I had everything in case he come back, So now I'm starting to get this thing. And then, of course, my mum's like, you're the man of the house now. So now I've got that. Do you know when you start getting that, I'm 11, but I feel like I'm a 20-stone warrior, do you know, because I've been led to believe that. And then you start talking, these are my boys, yeah? And my brother was a bit of a face. So then my role models I'm looking up to are violent, physical men, you know? So then they're not getting bullied. They're not getting this 6-foot-odd guy twisting their legs up and bending them up. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to be like these. So it started. I got in my first fight. I won it. Apparently this boy never cries, ever. And I made him cry. And at that time, I was rushed, mate. I was buzzed. And everyone started talking about it. And I was like, this is me. This is what I need to be. So this guy, when he comes back, I'll be ready for him. You know? So I just started like having fights all the time. Like I got expelled from school. I punched a teacher. Do you know what I mean? And it's all stuff that I should never have done. And normally I would apologise to everyone that I physically hurt, but that teacher deserved a smack in the mouth that day. And if he ever watches this, I hope he knows that I'm not sorry for doing that.
What's his name?
Mr. I was a science teacher. I can't even remember his name, you know. I wasn't even there long enough, but he grabbed me around the back of the neck, and that reminded me of an incident. So I just turned around and smacked him in the mouth. And I saw him about 10, 15 years later at Tesco's car park.
Did he clock you?
Oh, yeah, he clocked me. Listen, I was driving a Land Rover Discovery at the time, quite a new one, and I'd parked right out of the way so no other cars could open up and dent my car. And this little Clio was driving around, banged up little Clio, driving around, parked right next to me. At the whole car park, this guy parks next to me, yeah? And he gets out of the car and I'm thinking, this guy's just strange, yeah? And he can walk across. And I was like, that's him. So as he's coming around the front, I get out of my car and I slam the door. So he turns and looks at me, yeah? Because he turned around and said to me, he goes, you're going to be nothing. And the only thing you're going to have is a cell for the rest of your life. So I got out, slammed the door, so he turns around and looks. I looked at him, he spotted me. I've looked at my car, looked back at him. I looked at his car and I went, not a bad prison cell, is it? He turned around with his wife, got back in his car and left. That was all I needed. I just needed to be like, I told you. Do you know what I mean? Like, I told you.
Roll back a little bit. You said your brother got banged up. What did he get banged up for?
So he was fighting. A lot of his stuff was fighting, driving on a like no license, stuff like that, you know. But most of his stuff was.
And you mentioned football violence. What team you support?
Oh, there was nothing specific, mate. No. Like wherever I'd move to, I'd move every sort of 3 odd years. You know what I mean? And I'd stumble across. I was never with a firm, and like I'm not a visible known one. I was just, if it was kicking off, I wanted to get involved. Do you know what I mean? And it was like whoever was swinging, I was jumping in with. Do you know? There was no one specific. Obviously, you know the known ones, and it was like you look up to them as well, and you just think to yourself, I need to be more like them.
It's amazing, isn't it, when you haven't got a mentor or role model?
You don't know where, you're, going, man. You don't know where you're going. Because
What was your life like at 18 to 25, say?
Oh, mate, mess. It's a mess. Like, I've always had a job. I've always worked. And I worked on building sites from a young age. I left school early, joined on I knew this Irish guy. And he was like, "You looking for work?" And this was before tickets and everything was needed.
Roughly what year are we talking here?
I was about 15.
So in the 90s?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So I worked for an Irish guy called Tony. And I was working for Carter's Construction as a subby and Barnes Construction. I just got subbed out to these guys. And I loved it. I didn't like it in the winter, though. I didn't like building work in the winter, man. So I was doing that. I was doing a bit of groundworks and stuff like that. And I was around men. And it was like, I used to love going to work because I was around people that I knew had problems too.
Yeah.
So when we were all at work, we was just lads having a laugh. And, you know, you'd see someone up on a scaffold and they'd whistle you and they've got their trousers around their ankles and they're doing a helicopter and stuff, you know, and you're like, oh, mate. So you're carrying a wheelbarrow of concrete, next thing it's tipped over and we're just laughing, you know. Yeah. But other than that, work was the only stability I had. I was with some horrible women, mate. Horrible women. And I think what it was...
How were you around women?
I was a very angry person.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've never been physical with a woman. I've never been abusive to a woman. But if they was to argue with me, I'd argue back. And like, I am way beyond that now. If my missus, she's calm as anything.
I can see it. She's here today.
Yeah, she does not argue at all. Yeah. So like I'll go, I'm not happy with that, babe, and she'll go, all right. I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah, cool. And that's it.
That's the best way, right?
Oh, mate, honestly, it really is. Where before I'd be like going at it. Yeah, I'd be wanting to have an argument, you know, just so I could go out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, if I wanted to go out and my friends were going out, I was with an older woman. Yeah. She wouldn't let me go out. She wouldn't let me go out to play. Yeah, I mean, she wouldn't let me go out to play. So, and it was like...
You'd rather have an argument so you can go, right, see you later, I'll see you in a couple of days. Yeah,
get out. Because older women, they kick you out.
Yeah.
They don't tell you to stay. Like, a younger girl will stand in front of the door and give you loads of grief. You're not going out. You're staying here and you're going to argue with me. An older woman would boot you out.
Yeah. Old school.
Yeah.
So tell me, what was the abuse like for you? Were you abusing yourself? Drugs, drink?
No.
Okay.
No, drink. I used to drink a lot. Not alcoholic status. Like, I'd just drink through the day, just like most people. And like at the weekends, I'd get ratted, you know what I mean? But drugs, I've never tried any drugs. Never drugs, never smoked, never nothing. My brother, he used to do drugs, and my sister, they'd smoke weed and stuff. Yeah. But me, I didn't go anywhere near drugs because... the people that were around me, I had a lot of people around me that done drugs. Like, my brother was a very heavy drug taker because he needed to run away from his demons. Yeah. And I believe when he was doing drugs... Now, you got to remember, my brother was my dad. He was my everything.
How many years older was he than you?
10.
Okay.
10.
Yeah. Okay.
So for... I think he's about 7, 8 years older than me. Yeah. But this guy was so grown. Do you know what I mean? I've never known him to be a kid. I've always known him to be a man. Do you know what I mean? Fashion, wicked. Everyone loved him. He was feared and he was loved all at the same time, you know. And he was a party animal. He had decks. He played decks. So he was like mixing up in clubs. And you'd walk down the street and people would just bib and wave and they'd stop. You all right, Dean? And he's like, oh, like, hey, all the time. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And he was everything to me. Like, we didn't always get on. You know, we'd be, because we were both alphas. You know, we had that, like, you're pissing me off. And I'd be like, you're pissing me off. Do you know what I mean? But not once did we ever touch each other. We didn't grab each other. We didn't nothing. We'd be like, ah, and then walk away. And then we didn't speak for like a couple of months or whatever. And then we'd see each other again and it'd be like nothing happened. Do you know what I mean? But if it wasn't for him, which I didn't start connecting with him until I was in my teens and I started becoming violent. Yeah, and then my brother was like, that's my little brother. Yeah, okay. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I was noticed more because he was proud of me being a violent man. My mum was proud of me being a violent, but getting known, they're my boys. Yeah. bit like Peggy and Phil Mitchell.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
these are my boys.
Yeah, of course.
You know? Or if someone said something to my mum, she'd turn around and say, do you know who my boys are?
Yeah.
You know? And the more that me and my brother, like, if I ever went for a scrap, he'd always be there, and vice versa. But it'd never do 2-on-1. Do you know? If there was another person there, my brother would take care.
Yeah.
I'd do my own thing. Do you know what I mean? And it was kind of like that. We wasn't unfair guys.
Were you looking for fights?
When I was at school,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I wanted to protect people. And there's some people at school that if someone else had started on them, they'd come and say, Paul, they're giving me grief. And I'd always look after the weaker person.
Yeah.
I remember there's one guy, he's died now. He was called Michael Agar. He was such a nice kid. And there was this boy picking on him, and he come running over to me because, like, I wasn't an hard guy at school, but I'd definitely have a row. So, like, sometimes when you're at school, I'd never, like, if the hardest guy wanted to have a go, I'd have a go. Even if I knew I was going to lose, I'd have a go. But it always played on their mind that they knew that they'd have a scrap off of me.
Yeah.
Where sometimes the hardest person in school would whack someone, a lot of weak people, to make their name.
Yeah.
So other people would be like, oh yeah, you like a fight, I heard you had a fight.
Yeah.
And then you're known that you're having a fight. And all of a sudden you become the hardest person in the school.
Yeah.
When all you've done is whack people that don't fight back.
Yeah.
So I was the one that they didn't whack because they knew that they'd get it back, and it would be a good one because I wouldn't give up. You know, I've had a 6-foot-odd geezer tearing into me for years, like a man. Like, ain't no kid at school's going to be able to do anything to me that I ain't going to be able to come back for. If I could come back and stand up still, like, it'd do me. The geezer would twist me up and hurt me, and I'd still stand tall, still stand there, like, looking up at him, lips shivering, just staring at him, like, you know, and he'd say, what are you looking at? And he'd push my head down again, like, and I'd stand back up, and I'd stand there with my arms beside myself, my fists tense, you know what I mean? I'd be standing there just, you know, and he didn't like it. He didn't like it.
Have you met that fella since being an adult?
So this is a weird one, right? So I was in a house, and I saw this car go by, and I always vowed I was going to shoot this geezer when I saw him, because he was a football nut, yeah? And I vowed to myself, if I ever see him, I'm going to shoot him, yeah? I'm not going to shoot him in the body, I'm just going to shoot him in the legs, yeah? Because he tormented me with football. He'd stand me in a goal, kick balls in my face, like full pelt, you know, I'd have to save him. If every goal that went in, I was grounded another day. So I had to save all these balls. One time, he smacked me with a ball. I got concussion and everything. And I said, I'm going to take away what he loves, yeah? Because he took away my childhood. He took away my childhood. And I said, one day I'm going to shoot him. And I knew it in my head I was going to. And I'll tell you what, this car drove round, and I was standing in the front garden doing stuff in the garden on a car. This car came around, I saw him. My heart sunk, yeah, because this geezer looked like him, yeah? My heart sunk. And my belly started going all weird. Never felt that before. And at this time, I was already established, you know? I was, like, fighting all the time, yeah? So I was ready for a tear-up. And he come round, and it was like I was a kid again. I stood there, like, trying to be tough, and I froze. I froze. The first time I've ever froze in my life, I froze. I didn't know what to do. And he's come past, and he smiled. And I just nodded at him. And he drove away, and then he went round the block and come back and pulled up and goes, are you all right? And he got out of the car, and I swear he was bigger than that when I was a kid. I swear he was a monster. But now he's just a fat bloke standing in front of me. And I thought, I had a screwdriver in my hand. I thought I'd just stick him in the neck quick. And then I heard loads of kids running around outside, and I was like, I can't let them see that. Or was I just making excuses to not do it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I don't portray myself as a somebody. Yeah, but I just don't give up, you know? And I thought I'd stick him in the neck. And then I heard the kids and that lot. And I had a dog, a little puppy. It was my brother's. He used to breed dogs, and he gave me one. And he goes, is that yours? And I went, yeah. And he went, what's its name? I said, Rasta. And he goes, is it for sale? And I went, yeah. And he goes, how much? I went, 600 quid. He goes, pulled 600 quid out of his pocket, give it to me. And he took the dog. And I was like, it's gone.
He took the dog.
Yeah, he gave me the money and he had the dog, yeah.
Well, okay.
And he was with another geezer as well. And he had tattoos on his arms, like he had it all on his arms and that lot. And he took the dog and my brother come round and goes, "Where's Rasta?" I went, "Andrew's got him." He goes, "What do you mean Andrew's got him?" I said, "Andrew's got him. He gave me 600 quid for it." And he goes, and my brother went mental. He went mental. He goes, "I gave you that dog and you sold it." He wanted the dog himself and he gave it to me because, you know, I'm his little brother. And he took it and I don't know why I sold it to him. I didn't want to sell it to him, but I don't know
Something come over
something
you.
was. I just let him take it. And now he would never be able to do that now. If he turned up now, it's on. Yeah. But like then I just went back to being a kid again. And I don't understand what happened to me. I still can't explain it now. I can't explain, like, because that's not me.
Yeah.
That's not me. There's no way that man can bully me no more.
But it's the fear of freezing.
Oh, mate, I don't know what. I just froze. Only person that's ever done it. I froze. I wouldn't freeze now.
Tell me your relationship with your brother Dean over the years, as it coming into your 30s and stuff.
Oh, he was the man. Yeah. He was the man, mate. So, my brother was dressed. He always had, like, do you know, Ralph Lauren shirt, sound like YSL shirts, you know, when they were the Ben Sherman ones, he had them. He had jeans on, dreads. Brother's mixed race, he had dreads and that lot. And he was a short man. Yeah, short man, but a powerful man, you know. He had presence, proper alpha male. You wouldn't think that for a midget, like, you know. He was a very small man, but a powerful man. And I wanted to look like him. So I was like 11, 15, 18, wearing shirts, and people were looking at me like everyone else is wearing T-shirts and shorts and vests. I'm in the baking sun in a Ralph Lauren shirt and a pair of trousers, you know. Like, we used to get the Ralph Lauren shirts knockoff because down the docks, the docks had them all in, so the handballers used to go and take them, and then we'd be buying them all for like nothing, you know. So yeah, I had that, and yeah, he was just everything, you know. My brothers, I walked down the road, I feel like a king because he was everyone knew him, and anyone that was a somebody that went up against my brother lost. Yeah, they lost. Everyone spoke about him. You know, in the 90s, he was a king. He was powerful. And then, you know, he taught me how to shave. Not that it was any good now. Do you know what I mean? I had whiskers, and he turned around and said to me, he goes, "Paul, come with me." I went, "What?" He goes, "Come on, come up." I went up to the bathroom, put some shaving foam in his hand. I went, "What's that for?" I said, "Don't put it in my face." He goes, "No, I'm going to put it on your face." He goes, "Come here, I'm going to teach you how to shave." I was like, "I don't need a shave." He goes, "Look at these cat whiskers," and he pulled them. I was like, made my eyes water. I pulled them. He's like this, and he proper pulled them as well. So we sat in there. He goes, "No," he goes, "Don't." He goes, "Paul, you look stupid. Let me teach you." So he taught me how to shave. He never cut me nothing. Like I never cut, like the way he taught me. I never cut myself shaved. You know, some people they cut themselves. Never ever. Like that was him.
Tell me the years leading up to that horrific day in 2017.
So, my brother was in Colchester, and he'd had a scrap with. He was out with some friends, and this mixed race boy, he'd got targeted by a couple of lads, and they started smacking him up. My brother's come out of the club, saw him on the floor. My brother's gone out there, weighed these two guys in, and the other guy ran off, but it was all caught on CCTV, and because of that, he went to jail for it. He got 3 years, done a year and a half. But whilst he was in there, his missus finished with him and all that. She couldn't do it. She couldn't wait. So he was all upset. And he was a party animal, raver. Like he said, he'd done decks, done festivals, done all of that. He's popped some pills, smoked some weed, hash at the time it was. Yeah, done hash and all that lot. And he was sharing a cell with a geezer. And the geezer was a crackhead. And my brother was upset, he was crying. And he told me this, because I said to him, like, what made you start? Like, when was your first time? And he told me. And a little heart-to-heart we had once when we were both homeless. And he said, this geezer in my cell was doing some crack. And he said, this will help you stop the pain. Try some. He goes, no, I'm not doing none of that. And geezer was going on. And my brother jumped up, grabbed him, and he goes, Dean, I promise you, it's going to help you. It will help you sleep tonight. So my brother did it. And he said from that point on, he was lost. Wow. He said the buzz was so intense that it made him feel like he was back in the womb. He said the way he described it to me, I got goosebumps. He said, he goes, Paul, he goes, and he closed his eyes, he goes, it was like I was just back in a womb, and he goes, I was so warm, and I just rolled up on the bed and I went to sleep, and I was just looking at him, and I could see his body, and I could see how he surrendered to this. Yeah. The most powerful man that I know had surrendered to this tiny little piece of crack, and he was gone. You could see him. You can see him. That whole feeling that you had, I had goosebumps because I felt it. Yeah. Without doing the drug, I felt it, and I understand what he was chasing from that point on. But I didn't understand the addiction.
What year was he in, Nick? Roughly.
Couldn't tell. I suffer with number dysplasia, so like dates and stuff, it's really hard to throw out there, you know. So I don't want to get that wrong. Do you know what I mean?
So when you come back out, then where were you on that fatal day? Yeah.
I was at work tattooing. I was tattooing. Well, I'll tell you, it was the strangest thing, man. Like my mate had finished work. Yeah, he'd had a stressful day. I'd had a fairly good day at work. Do you know what I mean? It was like I had some good people in. It was a bit of a buzz, you know. I was like looking forward to going home with Bird. Do you know what I mean? Like going chill out with her. I think we were going to go out that night somewhere. I don't know, Colchester or something. And I was tattooing this girl. My mate had a really bad day, and he's rung me up and he's gone, "Oh, I've had a day. Like it's really bad." I said, "Mate, just chill out. Go home. Go and have a bath or something." You know what I mean? He goes, "All right, I'm going." He goes, "I don't want to talk." I said, "All right." Then he sends me a photograph of the bridge where he goes home. The bus goes. Police everywhere, tape cornered off and that lot. And he goes, "Great, just my luck." He goes, "Look at all of this lot." And I said, "Why? What's going on there?" He's gone, "Probably another crackhead's been killed or something, yeah." And I said, "That's mad. See what you can find out, yeah." And then he goes, "Oh, now it's going to take me even longer to get home because I've got to go around the long way." And I was like, "All right." But before that happened, before he rung me up and told me, I was tattooing this lady, yeah. And at the exact time my brother was stabbed, yeah, I had this horrible pain, yeah. Honestly, I had this horrible pain like it happened to me, yeah. I broke out in this sweat. I felt like I was going to pass out. The lady turned around and she said, "Do you want a minute?" I said, "Please." And for about 15 minutes, I was just hot sweating. I was shaking. I didn't know why. And then I had a can of drink, drunk this can of drink, fizzy, to try and get because I thought it might have been my sugars or something. But this pain was horrendous. But it was like up here. Do you know what I mean? Like in this area, it was up here. And then we just cracked back on, tattooing away, carried on. I went to after work, didn't think nothing of it. He's gone home. Never heard that it was my brother or nothing. I went to go and see my daughter because I got a child with another woman, another horrible woman, and I dropped her off. I'd gone to the petrol station. My mum's called me up. You never heard a sound like that before. Never heard a sound like that before. She's screaming down the phone, crying, screaming, deep, weird feeling. They got him. My baby, they've got him. I said, "What are you going on?" I said, "Calm down." I'm in the petrol station. The geezer's looking at me like, "Get off your phone." I'm like looking at him like, "Wait a minute, yeah?" And he's like, she goes, he's dead. I went, "Who's dead?" She went, "Dean's dead. They've got him." And I went, "What do you mean?" I said, "How do you know?" She goes, "The police are here." And she's screaming. I hear the house is being smashed up. I hear everything. "Get out of my house. Get out of my house." "Baby, they got him. God. So then I go, "All right, I'm coming. Yeah, I said, "Don't kick them out. I need to speak to them." Yeah. I'll get in the car. Going across the petrol station. The guy's on the monitor. "Can you please get off your phone?" He was Indian. "Can you please get accent, yeah?"
Welsh.
Yeah. He goes, "Get off your phone." My mate can do wicked accents. Yeah. "Get off your phone." And I was like, fuck off. You know what I mean? I got to my van. I'm like, I said, Mum, I'll be there in a minute. She goes, hurry, hurry. And I was like, I am. I rung up my missus and I went, babe, I'm going to my mum's. Dean's dead. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know whether it's true. I don't know. I don't know nothing. And she's like, all right, let me know. I was like, all right, put the phone down on her. I rung up Jamie and I went, Jamie, who was it that got killed today? Yeah. And he went, I don't know. I said, I think it's Dean. I think it's Dean. He's like, you're joking me. I said, no. I said, oh, I'm going to mum's now. I'll let you know. And then I hung up the phone and I'm driving. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm panicking. I could feel my chest is just beating. So I'm driving towards the motorway, and like, as I'm driving towards the motorway, I didn't know what to do. So I was grabbing hold of the steering wheel, I was just grabbing it, and I started screaming, like top of my like screaming. I nearly passed out. I was driving, I started going like all over, and I'd calm myself down. I got myself right, and then from this point on, I'm now in game mode. Like, it's not sure if it's reality or whether a dream, and it's not a good one. Yeah, so I'm on my way to my mum's. It's about a 15-minute drive from Ipswich to Felixstowe. I turn up. There's no police cars outside the house, so I'm like, has my mum just gone nuts or something? I walked in. There's 2 coppers standing in there. They've looked at me, and one of the coppers knew me from a child because her and her husband have nicked me and my brother for years, for all sorts of violence and stuff. Lovely lady though, lovely lady. Because sometimes when they nicked us, they just dropped us home. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Oh, you're coming with us, get in a car, and they took us home. They were decent coppers, not the horrible ones, you know. And I looked at her. And now they're like worried because like I've gone toe to toe with police and stuff. Do you know what I mean? And I'm staring at them, and the other geezers don't know who we are. There's like a man and a woman. Only the woman knew us, but the man didn't. And I've looked at him because he's the man, right? So I've looked at him, but she knows that I'm talking to her. And I went, "Is it true?" And he's like, blasé, you know, like, "Yeah, it's true." I said, "I'm not talking to you." And she goes, "Paul, it's true." I said, "How do you know?" She went, "It's him." And I went, "That was definitely him," because she had an emotional attachment to him. She'd seen us growing up. Do you know what I mean? She'd nicked us for years. So she'd seen how we were progressing. We'd been in her life most of her career, you know? And we was always nice to her, and her husband, Scott, real nice guy, you know.
When did you find out actually why he was attacked, when he was attacked, what reasons this happened?
10 at night.
Yeah.
10 at night.
What were you told?
They turned around, well, I say 10 at night. Listen, they turned up to my mum's house at 10:30 at night. My brother was killed at 5:05, 5:45. So he was stabbed at 5:05, 5:45 in daytime traffic. Yeah, he was going at school. Yeah. I found out all of this the next day, yeah, in the morning, yeah. So basically, my brother used to get his drugs. He was a functioning drug addict, yeah. He'd have a job, he'd be able to work, but he'd done so much crack over his time, he needed to stay on it to be able to just get by his day, yeah. If he weren't on it, he was mad. You could see he was like hurting. He had a lot of damage to him. Do you know what I mean? I was a baby when all this stuff happened to me. He was grown. Yeah. Like 10 years more than me grown. So he experienced it a different way to me that affected him more mentally than me, because he could never understand, like, if someone done something, it was their fault. He couldn't say that, well, that's happened because I made it or allowed it to happen. He couldn't take responsibility for that. And I think that was not being able to manage the way that he was manifesting his emotions, you know, and because he was a man's man, he wouldn't talk, he couldn't talk because he wouldn't want anyone to think he was weak, so he suffered.
When did you find out exactly what happened that night?
So,
did someone say to you, he was attacked by 3 men, 4 men, where was it, this happened, and when you found it out, how did that make you feel then? Were you thinking revenge? Who are they? What was going through your mind?
Mate, as soon as I found out, walked into the petrol station, I got the call. Yeah, revenge was on my mind, 100% without a doubt. Yeah, you've touched my family, and and you didn't just touch him. You killed my brother. You killed the man. Yeah, that made me who I am. You're dead.
Yeah.
You are 100% dead, without a doubt. Without a doubt. So I knew that I was going to kill this geezer that's killed my brother. I'm thinking it's just one guy. I didn't know it was 4. You know, until I got to the police, until the next day. So I've gone home and I'm there. My mum's smashed up. I've walked in. She's smashing up the house. She's going, no, screams at you. You'd never even hear ever unless it happens to your mum. And I pray that nothing ever happens to your family the way it has this. And my mum's come down. It's my boy here. She's come down. She took one look at me. She goes, make sure they suffer, because they all know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Make sure that they suffer.
Your old dear was saying that to you?
My mum, yeah.
Did you find out who they were and where they lived?
The next morning.
Okay.
The next morning. 7 a.m. the next morning. 7 a.m.
Who told you?
A guy that witnessed it in the car. The police didn't even understand how I was getting the information. Listen, social media is a curse, but it's also a blessing. Yeah, because...
And what year are we talking? It's just 2017, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So... this was in the peak traffic, yeah? This happened. My brother's gone down to this new drug line. He's a guy who he normally gets the drugs off, got raided the day before, had all his stuff took off him. And my brother normally stays with his source. He needed a new source. My nephews took him up to Ipswich, dropped him off at the train station. He's gone down to go and get drugs from this guy. But my brother didn't know that this drug line had been tipped off, that they were going to get robbed. So my brother was a new face to the line. So they thought that my brother was there to rob him. But he was just there to pick up some crack, do you know what I mean?
Right, okay.
So he was waiting outside the gate, about 1.5 minutes away from the house. Wait round the corner, that's where we drop off. They come down, three of them. 3 of them come down. One of them was on the phone. 2 of them were walking down with him, and then they started fighting. My brother's scrapping back, so he's having it with them. It was on one side of the road. My brother was like hitting them as they were coming towards him. They were swinging. My brother was swinging. He had crossed the road. He was, you know, when you're fighting, you're fighting backwards, so you're walking backwards, leaning forwards. Yeah, and that's what it was. And then they were zigzagging across the road in peak traffic on a set of traffic lights. So there's cars all over, and these guys are fighting. And then my brother was walking backwards. They were on the road, and he'd tripped on the curb going backwards. So as he went down, the guy that was behind the guy that was fighting my brother at thing stabbed him whilst he was on the floor. As soon as he went down, the guy come in, stabbed him, then they all ran off. This was in front of this guy's car.
Bloody hell.
And my brother jumped back up, like after he'd been stabbed, he jumped back up. The geezer's wound down his window and said, "Are you all right, mate?" And my brother's gone, like, stuck his thumb up, yeah. And then as he's gone past his car, he just fell.
Yeah.
He just went down. And there was one stab wound in the lower stomach, near the belly button. And it gave him a paper cut on his main artery. And he bled in. So there was no blood. No one knew that he'd been stabbed.
He bled internally?
He bled internally.
Jesus.
But his body had released so much blood so fast that he ended up having a heart attack, which contributed to his death, you know. But there was a man there, and he was just a teacher. I think he was a science teacher, a German teacher, from a school locally, walking home from work. And there's a guy laying on the floor. He'd seen the argument, he saw the fight, and then my brother said to him, "I think I've been stabbed, I think I've been stabbed." And the guy's laying on the floor with my brother, he's holding him. And he's trying to look, lifting up his top, trying to look. He goes, "You haven't been stabbed." He goes, I have. And then he just went silent. And then my brother had passed away. The ambulance turned up, got him in the ambulance, tried to bring him back, got him to hospital. I ended up talking with a guy that tried to save his life, the surgeon. And he said they put like 9 litres of blood in him, he just weren't holding it. And they said we had to call it, he'd died. Yeah.
What was your movements after you knew that he'd died, regarding the 3 or 4, was it 3 or 4 men?
4.
The 4 men, you're thinking, right, I'm getting revenge.
So, first of all, I had to find out who was it. I was still assuming it was just one person. I had to find out who it was. Someone rung me the next morning. I was out, yeah? So, for me, I needed to trace my brother's life, yeah? So, I need to go and find all the people that are going out, drug dealers that are out selling crack that time in the mornings, because everyone, you get the text message breakfast, yeah? So, breakfast is like crack, white and brown, for anyone that's looking for it. It's around that time in the morning. So I'm out, 6 o'clock, I'm in the town centre waiting for these people to come out, the homeless people, the crackheads, the drug dealers. So I'm waiting around. I didn't know where to look, because I'm not a drug person. I've not been around it. I've been around people that do drugs, but I don't know where you get it from. Do you know what I mean? So I'm in the town centre, ready. I'm ready to go. I'm tooled up. I'm all good. Let's go, yeah? And then I get a phone call from this woman who lives over Chantry Way, and she says, my friend's son saw it. He was in the car. He spoke to your brother after it happened. I said, what? Give me his number. She gave me his number. I'm ringing him. He's got up. I said, are you all right, mate? How you doing? I said, I'm Dean Stansby's brother. He went, who's that? I said, the guy yesterday who was killed in front of your car. He went, mate, I'm so sorry. I said, did you see it? He said, yeah. I said, do you know who it was? He said, no. I said, do you mind if I give your number to the police? Yeah, so they can contact you to know who it was that done it, because I thought the police would be able to get it. This geezer's going to get arrested. I know his family. I'll start targeting the family. Someone's going to pay for this, yeah? So he was like, no, do it. He goes, at first he was like, nah, I don't think I can, bruv. My missus, like, she's scared. She saw it. She was pregnant at the time. Like, she'd witnessed this. And he was like, my missus don't. I said, look, mate. I said, imagine if this was your brother and I saw it. What would you do? And he goes, all right, give him my phone number. The missus is in the background. She's like, no, don't do it. And he goes, babe, I've got to. So I got the number. I rung up Pauline, the copper that come. I said, I've got a number. She was my liaison officer at first. And I said, I've got a number. She goes, how have you done that? I said, I've got my ways, but I've got a phone number. He told me to give it to you. You got to call him. She was like, okay, what are you doing? I said, you know what I'm doing? She goes, Paul, don't be stupid. Leave it to us. I said, no chance. And I said, here's the phone number. I've got to go. And hung up. So now all these started coming out. Yeah, so I'm going up to him. Do you know my brother? They went, yeah. I said, did you hear that he's been killed? They went, what, Dean? Tattoo Dean? And I was like, yeah. They went, no. And I could see they were like, no. So I could tell through body language which ones were friends and which ones weren't. Yeah. And they was like, no. And there's a guy called Terry Forrester. He's a homeless guy. He's nuts. He's a lovely, lovely guy. And he wouldn't mind me saying his name. And he was like, I'm going to see what I can find out for you. And he talked to everybody. So I had him now. I've got him out going to see what he can find out, because he loved Dean. Dean looked after him. Do you know what I mean? And so I've got all these people out. I'm grabbing the people that, as soon as I saw someone that wasn't like, what, Dean, yeah? And I could see it on his face, I could see it straight away. It was like, that serves him right, do you know what I mean? Grab him up, dragged him in the H&M doorway, because it was like set back. Drag him in the H&M doorway, give him a couple of digs. I said, what do you know? He goes, I don't know nothing. He goes, stop. I said, I don't know. Because he needed crack, he's feeling everything, do you know what I mean? Yeah. And listen, it might come across I'm a bit of a bully, at this point, but I don't care, because I wanted information. I needed to find out, and anybody that was in my shoes would have done exactly the same thing. And I've cracked him out a couple of times, to try and find out something. He gave me some names. I've then gone. As the day got on, more people were talking about it. It started getting out. Next thing, names started dropping. I got a name. They said, Tequin Parker. I said, who's Tequin Parker? They went, Tequin Parker's Gwen's brother. I went, Gwendolyn, They were, Gwen was a street girl, and her boyfriend I'd looked after for years. Like, they needed food, I'd give them food. They needed sleeping bags, I went and bought them sleeping bags. Like, it was raining, I bought them a tent, I'd give them a tent, I'd give them everything. And her brother has killed my brother. What world are we living in? Like, And I'm like, are you serious? Like, yeah. So I rang up Pauline. I said, do you know a Tequin Parker? She goes, I've heard of him. And I went, where's he live? Just chancing. She knows me. She's going to tell me. Yeah, we go way back. She wouldn't tell me nothing. But then that's her job. I understand that now. At first, I was like, fuck you, bit. You know what I mean? And I was like, nah, I'm not having none of it. So I was now out looking for Tequin Parker. And then when I got Tequin's name, I got Daniel Giganda's name.
Okay.
I was like, who the hell is Daniel Giganda? They're like, he's a Somalian from London. I was like, where's he live? They go, he's at a Cuckoo down the road. Yeah? Cuckoo is a place where you sell drugs out of, yeah? I went, where's the Cuckoo? He goes, down the road. So I've got the address. I'll kick the door in. I've gone in. Don't know what's on the other side. Don't know anything. I've gone in. There was no one in there. Nobody. The house had been abandoned. It's gone. I said, where is anyone that's in here? Because it was flats. I said, where's the person that lives here? They go, they're not here. They don't come back. They go away for weeks on ends, and then eventually they come back. So now I'm lost again. I don't know where I'm at. I got given another name. Found out where this guy lives. Yeah. And Jason, his name slipped me. And I don't know why his name always slips me, because he was the sneaky one that was on the phone. Do you know what I mean? The fourth one, I didn't know who it was. The fourth one was the guy on the phone to the other guy. So there was 3 guys at the time, but the fourth guy was on the phone. Told him, kill him. So the guy on the phone goes, he said, kill him. So then they killed him. You know? So I don't know who that was until we got arrested. The police had to do their work on that. I had a name. It was a nickname. I had that nickname.
Did you manage to get hold of any of these lads before they got nicked?
So, one of the guys ended up getting stabbed twice. I don't know who done that. I never got arrested for it. I never got questioned for it. But somebody stabbed him twice, left him where he was to die. He then got took to the hospital. And I found out that he was still alive. And I said, how is this crackhead, skinny man, like, how has he survived being stabbed twice? But my brother, who got stabbed once, a powerful guy, died. Like, how has this guy survived? And I went up the hospital to find him, because I was going to slit his throat. But there was police everywhere. You know what I mean? Police everywhere. I've gone up the hospital, and I'm like, I know a lot of people up the hospital. I said, is there someone in here with a load of police and stuff? They said, oh, there's a guy down there. They didn't know my brother had just been killed. I said, there's police down there. I said, oh, good, I've got to speak to the police. So I've gone down there to get him, finish him off from what somebody else done to him. And police were everywhere, mate. I couldn't get anywhere near him. So what are you doing down here? I said, oh, nothing. I've come to pick my friend up for work. They was like, yeah, who is it? And my friend was walking down. He was a porter. I went, are you ready? He goes, yeah, mate. Because he seen my face. I said, you ready? He goes, yeah, mate. I said, coming in. And he goes, Paul, I'm at work. I said, you're going to have to come with me, mate. You're going to have to come with me. I said, please come with me. Gets in the car with me. I drive around the back of the hospital. And I said, nice one, mate. He gets out, goes back to work. I go off. But I'd set out to slit his throat.
When you look back now, you look back at these times and the times that you could have gone and slit his throat or smashed your mum's husband over the head and got rid of him. Do you look back now and think, thank God I didn't do that?
Yeah, but that's not come without learning how to deal with being a man. I had to dig deep to find out who I was. And I'd never have found that out if it wasn't for the trauma. So I went from a very violent person that, you know, was a tattoo artist that was just doing, my answer was violence. And I didn't know who I was. I knew now that I didn't know who I was then. And I was the person that everyone else wanted me to be. So I'm at the worst time in my life. Yeah, my brother's been murdered. I've gone to find 4 people to kill him. And I was capable to go and kill these people. I'm capable to go and do this. No problem. Yeah, because my family said, make sure you get them.
Yeah.
I can't let my family down.
Yeah.
I can't let my family down, and I can't let my brother down, because if I kept thinking, if this was the other way around, I know my brother would have got him. I know they would have been dead. I know it. So when they all got arrested and I couldn't get to them, I tried to get to them whilst they were in prison. I made a call in prison, you know, bounty on the head, go and do your thing. But there was police had put a phone on the landing and they recorded everything. And the police rung me up, said, I need to come and see you. I know that you've put a hit out in jail. I need you to sign this bit of paper. They said, if you don't sign this paper, we've got to press charges. And I was like, and basically the bit of paper said that I understand that I've done what I've done, and that I will make no further attempts. And if I do, I would be charged for that offence as well as another offence. Yeah. So I signed the treaty paper.
Was the first time that you saw them in court?
Yeah.
What was that feeling like? You're looking up there,
mate. When you're there and you've got this on your head, you have to kill. I want to kill, yeah. And you've got all of this, like, with the anger, with love, with I'm hurting as well. You know, I've lost it all, and I'm left now with not being able to. I've let my brother down. I've let my family down.
So that's going through your head as well.
Mate, I've let them all down. Yeah, not the fact that I've got my children.
Yeah.
And that I've got my wife. Yeah. I've not done what they've asked me to do. Yeah, I've not held up to my family name. I've not protected my brother. So when I was lost, yeah, and I couldn't be found, I went out for 7 days on a manhunt. I didn't come home for 7 days. I was literally gone. Still had the same trainers, same socks, tracksuit on, hat. I was completely the same. For 7 days, I was a tramp. Yeah, I was out on the streets all night doing all this lot. So when you come face to face with these people, and when it went to court, I was not allowed in court. I was not allowed in court because I had to have a psychiatric evaluation, yeah, on me, because they knew what I would do, what I was capable of doing, and they knew that I would go through it if I had the chance. So there's only one room in this Crown Court where the glass goes from floor to ceiling. Yeah. Yeah, they did not want this in a court where I could get over the top. So we had to wait for this room to be available, and that was the only courtroom we were allowed in. You go into Crown Court, it's the first one on the right-hand side downstairs. And that was the only one we were allowed in because they knew that I'd jump it. But I had to be psych-evaluated. They gave me a room. There was 30 odd coppers down there, yeah, on patrol, because they were there for me. And if any of their families turned up and everything, I was going to get them all. Yeah. And they stuck me in a room, and they were very clever with it because I had my own room. So I was away from the other members of the public. Yeah. So no one was going to trigger me or anything like this. Yeah. And they gave me puzzles to do. What calms you down? I don't know. A puzzle. Yeah. I've done one puzzle in my life. I didn't even know. Yeah. I'd done one puzzle in my life. I'd done it once in the women's refuge, and I remember feeling calm when I'd done it. I said, I don't know, a puzzle. And so the police bought me puzzles, 1,000-piece puzzle, 2,000-piece puzzles. Mate, I'd done like 9 or 10 puzzles whilst I was there. I had the court people coming in doing all these puzzles to try and calm me down. I hear the buzzer go on the door. I'd go flying up to the door, and I'd be standing there like, are you part of it? And then I'd be watching them. And if they went down to that back room, yeah, headed down to that back room, it's on. And I don't know how to explain. You imagine feeling so angry that you can tear up a room, yeah, but feeling so lost that you don't know what to say to anybody, yeah. Echoes of conversations are coming at you, but you're not sinking in because I'm in this transition stage. Like, I don't know where I am with my emotions, and I don't know how to manage that. Yeah. And people are coming through the door. Instantly, I'm switching. And then it's not them, so I'm then back down doing a puzzle. And, like, you can't contemplate, like, the up and the down, yeah, of so quick. It's like, well, I'm ready to kill you. Now I'm doing a puzzle. It's weird. It's weird. You know, how I could be so violent and so calm within seconds of each other. It's not you. Carry on with the puzzle, real calm and stuff, you know?
Did you feel at that time you were losing the plot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was losing the plot, but no one could see it.
Yeah.
No one could see it. Because I can't be weak.
Yeah.
Yeah? Because my family is looking at me.
Yeah.
Yeah? I've got people in my town that's knowing that they all turn around and say, these people were like getting questioned by the police. There people knocking on the door in the area. They said, you better get them before Paul does. And they were like, why is that? And they said, because you'll have another body.
Yeah.
You'll have another body. And they go, do you think he will? And they say to him, do you think he will? You know, and the police were in... I think I was more of a pain to the police because they kept saying to me, like, you need to stop, let us do our investigation. I'm like, no chance. Am I leaving it up to the pigs, to the rozzers? No way. And I said it to him. I said to him, I ain't leaving it to you. You won't get nothing done. I'll get done quicker than you. And all the information that I found out, I got the judge at the end of the trial. He was like, thank you for everything. This court case wouldn't have been able to go without the information that you like collected.
Yeah.
And that was emotional.
When you were in the court looking up at them, how long did they all get? And do you remember what you said to them at the time? Did you shout anything out?
So, because I wasn't allowed in the courtroom until I got a psychic evaluation because they thought I was like nuts, yeah. I got psych evaluated, multiple personality disorder, a bit schizophrenia or whatever. And not paranoid, the other one, the more explosive one, do you know what I mean? So I got diagnosed as well at the same time, which was good because I understand now why I think the way I think, you know. You know, when you put a label on it, it feels a little bit easier.
Yeah.
So now, because I got evaluated, I understood a little bit more about me, yeah? And that was nice, yeah? But at the same time, if I would have known years ago, I probably wouldn't have gone through so much.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But he just looked at me as a naughty child. So I was a naughty child, and that's how it was easy to just bypass that. But someone had to die for me to find out my true evaluation, you know? And eventually, after 4.5 weeks, I was allowed in the courtroom. So the first time I went in the courtroom, you walk in, judge is there, we sit here, and the box is like, I'm here, the box is here. Yeah? If you stand up, you can see the window, you can see through the window. Yeah. And as I walked in, I paused because I see them, and I'm looking at them like, and they're looking like, who's that? So they don't know who I am. They ain't got a clue who I am because I wasn't a part of the drug world. So they don't know who I am.
They would have heard that.
I'm just a civilian.
Yeah.
They know that Dean had a brother.
Yeah.
And they know that this geezer's looking for him, and they've been told that I'm going to kill him. Yeah. So they're looking and they're like, is that Dean? Because we don't look alike. My brother's mixed, he's short, I'm a little bit taller, a little bit more chubbier, do you know what I mean? Yeah. And so we don't look alike, but that's my brother, you know? And we've gone in and you can see them looking, and I'm looking at them like, wait until you come out that door. Yeah. Yeah. One of them looked in and he sort of like smiled. Yeah. And I pinned him. I was like, just nodded, like nodded. And then I sat down, and then you through the half of the glass was like frosty. So you can see, like, you know, like a bathroom window. You know, if the light's on from movement, outside, you can see movement. I can see him looking, see him like trying to look up, see where I am and stuff. So I'm there waiting. I'm waiting for the judge to say it's break or something so I can stand up and look at these geezers again. So as soon as the judge has been like, we're going to break, as soon as I saw him lift the hammer up, I stood up straight away because they'd had to stand up. They were standing up. So I stood up and I turned, and I wasn't facing the judge. I was facing them. And I was looking. And I was staring at them, and then I think they sort of got that I was Dean's brother, or I was a family member, but I was staring at them like they had it was on, you know. And I thought they were going to come out. I didn't know how it worked. I thought they were going to lead them out, and this was it. I was ready. They're going to bring them out. They're going to walk them around with the security guards. But there was a door in the back room, and they went out through the door. I turned around and I said to the copper, I said, where they gone? And Andy Moore, the copper, he's my new liaison officer. He turned around and goes, I said, did they not come out through that door? He goes, don't be stupid. We wouldn't bring them past you. And I was like, really? I said, where they gone then? He said, the door out the back. So again, I'm now left feeling empty again because I thought, the end, now I'm going to get them. Yeah? Even if I got one of them. I didn't care which one it was. I just needed to show my mum and my sisters that, like, I got you guys, you know what I mean?
How many years did they get each?
The guy that they said stabbed him, he got 22 years. And the other 3, they all got 18 years each. And they have to serve full sentences without the remand time. Yeah, they have to serve full sentences before they can apply for parole.
How did you feel when you heard that?
The one that I was most nervous about was the geezer on the phone, the guy that said kill him. Yeah, because he was in London when he said this.
Yeah. So he got 18 years for that.
He got 18 years.
And that was recorded.
That was It was recorded through cellular data that was triangulated to his address in that area. And that was pinned to the phone at that time, triangulated in that area. And they got him on triangular.
Did your brother have any ag with any dealers before?
You know, anyone that buys drugs are always going to be like, get some stuff on tick, or, you know, think you've given me 2 less, so you end up having an argument. You're like, there's not enough here, I've given you this, you know. And my brother was a straight talker. If you'd done him short, he'd take everything off you. Like, if you'd done him short, he'd be like, because you tried to mug him off, he'll just mug you off and take everything off you. You know, that was what it was. He was a straight guy, you know. So you knew if you were selling drugs to him, that give him the right amount, or he'd take it all, or you just come down with like just what you were selling him, do you know. But
so after all this happened and you calmed down, what was the next move for you to set up the charity that you set up about knife crime?
So I'm lost beyond your wildest dreams. I got a beautiful family. I got a mum that is no longer a mum no more. This is a ghost of a woman that looks like what my mum used to look like. My mum was a fat, short, stumpy old lady just wobbling around everywhere. Do you know what I mean? Now she's skin and bones, haggard. She's aged. She's just a shell. She's not even a mum. I call this woman mum, and I don't even know who she is. You know. So I've got so much in me that I hate these people for, and I've got all this in me that's like, I haven't done what I'm supposed to do, and I'm lost. Yeah, my sisters, I've set up, and I was the lead of this whole police investigation. If they wanted to talk to me, they couldn't talk to my mum, they couldn't talk to my sisters. They were a mess. My stepdad, my mum's husband, he's a nice guy. I don't really get on with him, but he's a nice guy. You know what I mean? And he had a stroke the next day, so he's useless, absolutely useless. You know, he's got no movement in his arm and his leg because of this. So now I've got to check he's okay. I've got to try and stop my mum from committing suicide. I've got to stop my sister from committing suicide because they were best friends. Yeah, I've got my other sister. She's like lost and crying and that lot. And I couldn't cry. I had no time to cry because if I did, who's going to put this family back together? What's left of it? So I'm lost. My sisters, I get the police, I say, my sisters need therapy, they need help, my mum needs therapy, they need help. What about you? Don't worry about me, just get them sorted. I can't talk to a stranger that doesn't know nothing about how I'm feeling. I'm a man, I'm a geezer. You know, like, you can't tell me nothing. How do you know what I'm feeling like? I was so lost. Lost.
And you were what, 35 years old then?
Yeah, I think so.
35, 36.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable the ripple effects that happen after knife crime or any kind of crime like this.
And this is why I do what I do. Yeah, because there was no one out there for someone that thinks the way that I think. Yeah, there's charities out there, there's this and that. But I feel like with a charity, yeah, that if you're a charity in your area and something's happened like that, you'd reach out, right?
Yeah.
Because you'd know how I'm feeling. But there was nothing. No one reached out to me. No one reached out to my family. They had help. They had the therapists. But I needed someone that knew what I was going through. And someone that had a knife crime charity should have reached out to me. I'm not a hard person to find. I'm very well known in my area. You know, I've got a tattoo shop, the most successful tattoo shop in my area. Everyone knows who I am. You cannot not find me. If you want me, you ask someone, they'll point you in my direction. 100%. There's not a single person you'd be able to walk past that wouldn't know who or where I was. And no one reached out to me. And I felt disgusted in humanity. Like I was let down by society. And I started thinking, there has to be someone out there that's got to help other people. I need to focus on something. I need to be able to make sure that there's no one else that's going through what I'm feeling. Because I never felt like this before. Now, if I was committing crime and someone come to me who feels the way I'd done and just give me a little bit of that, and I felt that as a child, but I would never have touched anybody. I would never had a fight. I would have never committed crime. I would have never done anything that hurt anybody. Ever. And I apologise to everyone apart from that teacher. But I apologise to everyone who I hurt. Because if I've made them feel how I feel today, I feel disgusted, man. Like, for real. And this is the medicine I need to give to people. And that's why I set up the charity. My brother will not die in vain, and his legacy will live on. And I'll make sure that, to my ultimate power, that I will try and not let anybody else feel the way that I feel.
And for the listeners out there, tell me about the charity.
So I set up the Be Lucky Anti-Crime Foundation. And the reason why I called it Be Lucky is because my brother never used to say goodbye. He used to say, be lucky. And thumb up, be lucky, and thumb up and walk off. Yeah. So I named it Be Lucky. And I used to say he had 9 lives. So we had a cat as a logo, you know, like a Sphinx cat, because he hated them. He said, they're horrible, they're like aliens. So I had a Sphinx cat as the logo. We changed it now to like a kiss cross, like a black one. Is what we've established as a knife crime logo, you know. And people come and get tattooed on them and everything. But I set this up so I could teach people that crime is not worth it. You know, what we need to understand is time is what's important. And we're so protective over things like clothes and that. Oh, you got dirt on my clothes. And we got like, oh, someone stood on my trainer, or someone's damaged my wall in my house, like drove into it. We get so wrapped up in things that we can fix and replace that we fail to work out the most important thing. And there's something we can't get back is time. And it runs out on us every second goes by. That's a second less that you have. And if you haven't done good with that second, then what's the point of life? You know? So I go around, I try and teach kids about time, precious time, and to try and teach them to put down a knife, and the ripple effects is the biggest importance. And I never knew what it was called until I podcasted a guy. I knew about the theory of it all, but I never knew it was called the ripple effect until I podcasted another guy called Cole Scott, and he said, that's the ripple effect. And then I was like, oh yeah, it is. It's like, you start thinking about it. So yeah, I try and teach people about the ripple effect.
But knife crime in the UK has risen ridiculously high levels. What advice can you give out there to kids going out on a night out and carrying?
A lot of the people that I've come across that are carrying knives, they feel like it's for their protection. They feel like it's going to save their life. They don't realise that nearly 50% of the people that carry a knife are actually killed and wounded by their own knife. They don't realise this. So if
hold on, so 50%. So if you're carrying, someone grab it off and kill you back.
Well, most people that are carrying a knife, like when you're throwing a punch, you're throwing a punch, you've got a fist, half a fist, So if you're using a knife whilst throwing a punch and it comes out your hand, you've got to go for it, or the person's going to go for it, or, you know, or if you're not strong enough, then the person, because when you've got a knife, you think you can challenge someone that's twice your size and strong, you ain't got a chance. That person's going to get it off you. And like, if you was attacking me with a knife, I know I'm going to take it off you, and at that split second,
you're going to make a stupid decision.
The stupidest decision. The stupidest, because you wouldn't do it, but because you're in that moment, you're stuck in a transition of your life. You're not contemplating. There's no contemplating there. It's just action.
Instant.
It's instant action, and you're stuck. You're stuck now because you've got a knife in your hand that you've used, even though it's not yours. You go, I can't go to jail for it. This isn't my knife. This is his. You can still go to jail for it. You might get a shorter sentence because it's loss of self-control, but you still killed someone. You still wounded someone. You stabbed someone.
What sort of anyone out there listening who is carrying? What sort of sentences are these people getting these days?
So there's a mix of variation. It's not as strong as what it should be. You know, they say that if you're carrying a knife, they're trying to put the sentence to be 5 years, start 5 years.
What if you're just caught carrying?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and if you're just caught carrying a knife and they're going to offer out a 5-year sentence, that should be a deterrent. But they're not following through with this. You know, there's kids in my area that are carrying knives that I try and help, like, stop them from doing this. You know, they listen to my lives and on TikTok and stuff, and they say, because of you, I've put down a knife and stuff. And it's really good because they're understanding the passion and the purity that's behind my pain. And they're getting arrested. They found a knife on them. The police are taking the knife out on them, take the knife off of them, and let them go with a caution. And you're thinking, what is the matter with you?
Yeah.
Because if all you're going to do is nick me, I'll spend 17 hours in a cell or whatever, and you're going to release me with paper.
Yeah. What's going to prevent me carrying on?
What is going to prevent you? Like, seriously, as a child, what will stop you from going, I'll just go home and get another one out of my kitchen drawer? You know? And the maddest thing about knife crime, especially with youngsters, is the parents that don't believe their children have been brought up that way to carry.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. It's crazy. They're like, my children ain't been brought up that way. Well, the world's changed.
Changed quickly.
They've changed.
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time with the charity educating the parents, because the parents really, the parents are so scared now, that they're when my brother first died, not really many parents were like, oh, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. You know, you hear that. Oh, they hear something that's to do with drugs. That's the lifestyle we lived. Now it's in-house.
Yeah.
Now it's in-house. Because your child, you're like one in three people, are a witness or a victim of knife crime. 1 in 3. So you could be walking to school. Someone else have a knife, have a fight, they pull a knife out, chase someone, or there's a gang over there that's decided to go, and you've like got your phone out and witnessed it, you know, and that's.
You know, the weird thing is about listening to all this, what you're talking through, is the knock-on effects. It's not just you going to prison for stabbing someone else. The knock-on effects for all of your family around you.
I'm telling you now, that I am not joking when I say to you, my mum is gone. Yeah. My mum is gone. She's a dead person. She's dead, but she's alive, but she's dead, mate. That's not a mum no more. That's a woman that's existing. You understand? Like, my family has been ripped to pieces. And when my family, we're all close. You know, we're all together. We got past, we got backgrounds. You know, when one of us gets affected, we all turn up. But when my brother died, I was on my own. I was on my own. I didn't see my cousins. I didn't see my uncles. These were all men. These were bad men. You know, fighting men. Dangerous men. Where the hell were they when I was going out kicking cuckoos in and attacking the drug dealers on the corner of the streets, like grabbing older people when they're doing, you know, the drug checks and stuff? Like, where were anybody? Where was my friends? You know, where was all the people that were bad men, that were all walking like their road? Like, where were all they? You know, there was no one in sight. No one. And I hated everyone for it. Now I don't. And this is why the charity works so well. Because I will not falter in my passion. I had the police come out to me a couple of weeks ago. And because of my efforts of not following procedure when it comes to anything I do with the charity, schools won't let me in because, you know, they don't think that I'd be right to approach the children because I'm too, like, vocal and loud, and they think I might scare them. So I stand outside the school grounds handing leaflets out. You all right, mate? How you doing? Any use carrying a knife? If you do, give them to me. I'll put them away for you. Kids hand over knives. They hand over knives. Can't, mate, you don't want to do that. Tell them a little, educate them a little bit. Not aggressive now. I said, let me talk to you for a minute. Come on. I said, what would you do if your mum comes around your house? If the police come around to your mum's house and say, I'm sorry, your son was killed today. And they're like, I said, how would your mum be? What if your mum committed suicide like my mum wants to? Because you're gone, your baby, you're her baby. Because all you wanted to do was carry a knife to save face. They hand the knife over. I'm successful with these guys.
Good.
I'm successful with them. And the police, the council, the schools, they don't like it. They don't like it because I'm moving and I'm just a guy in a tattoo shop that's hurting.
Yeah.
But I know how to approach these kids and they all love me. They love me because I was a part of the street. But I wasn't in a gang. I weren't in a gang. The gangs weren't like that then. It was firms, you know, like a couple of friends just go out and work together. Do you know what I mean? So these kids, they appreciate it and they understand.
I think you're doing really, what you've been through, Paul, is pretty horrific, mate.
Yeah.
And what you're doing now, come out the other side with a lovely missus, you can see over there.
Yeah.
And everything you've gone through, I think it's really powerful what you're doing. And I think you should carry on doing what you're doing. Because the ripple effect, anyone listening out there who is carrying or knows someone who's carrying, this is a really powerful message.
Yeah, yeah, and it's moved big time.
Yeah.
It's over. Listen, I've been at it for 6 years now. My brother's been gone just over 6 years. I've been at it 6 years, and it's been a massive success.
Yeah.
The last 3 years, things have really turned around.
Yeah, I can see.
They've turned around massive because with the charity we was bypassed because they thought that we were only going to be a couple of years and I'm going to forget it and go all the other ones do. They set up, they're not getting paid. I'm a non-profiting organisation. Every penny that comes through the charity goes back into the street.
Yeah.
Every single penny of it. Every penny. And I've got paperwork to put online if anyone disbelieves. Yeah. But every penny that comes through there goes back into the streets. And when I say it goes back into the streets, I'm not talking about programs that I'm giving back to the council. I'm giving these kids something. Yeah. I'm not giving them gifts at JD like some people do. And that's really successful for a lot of them. Yeah. And it's working for them in that area. It's different. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to integrate these kids to understand that just because they're from that postcode, it doesn't mean that you can't connect.
Yeah.
It don't mean that you can't vibe. Like, what are you killing each other for over a couple of letters and words?
Yeah.
It's mental. So I started an event and we're coming up to our 3rd year. And the first event I set up, it was a basketball tournament. And I basically, all these kids that were on the streets in my area, they were all working, they all play basketball. And I thought, I'm going to connect them this way. Everyone puts football teams on and they do football. Not everyone's into football. I'm not into football. You know, I was a basketball guy. So I set up the event. I got the police to get a team together. So I had police feed street kids, roadmen, ex-prisoners. The police come down. The police were really nervous. They were really nervous. Kids come down. 1,230 kids turned up.
Right.
1,000 kids from areas that hate each other.
Yeah.
They turned up to this event for a £250 prize draw for the winning team. They turned up, 250 quid. Had me thinking, like, how can these kids, 250 quid for the winning team? It's 3 on 3, £250 split 3 ways. These kids come down, ignored the beef for 250 quid split 3 ways.
Yeah.
How much must these want the money?
Yeah. So you've done 2 years. Are you coming into 3rd year now?
Yeah, so we're on our 3rd year now, and put myself in a position where I would allow you not to come anywhere near me. And
Is that what it was? You were protecting yourself.
I was protecting myself. Yeah.
Did you find that as you were protecting yourself from the front there, deep down you were a little boy inside?
Oh, listen, that day made me feel like a little boy.
Yeah.
I thought I was powerful because my family and everybody told me I was. But that day when I froze, and I can assure you I'll never ever freeze ever again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will never ever feel that way again. And and I know this because I went looking to kill people, you know. So I know I won't freeze because when it counts, I'm able. Now I'm a new person. I will stay away from violence if I can. Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong. If you come to me and you're trying to attack me, I've got to protect myself. But it's not a first choice no more. It's not. I'm not interested in it.
Away.
Listen, I looked for respect from everybody by hurting people and making them fear me. Yeah, this has made me realise that the respect that half of these people believe they have is fear.
Yeah.
There's a big difference because when you die, they're happy you're gone. Yeah, where if you can get people to respect you for the goodness that you put out, they will miss you forever. You become a legacy. A legacy. You know, they say you're forgotten after 3 generations. My brother will never, ever be forgotten. And neither will I. Because I'm a pure man now. you know, and I will step away from violence.
Do you feel that you're in a really good place as you sit today?
Yeah, but that's only because of what I've got around me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've got, you know, I've got my wife and my children, and I can look at myself now, and I can see who I am, and I like what I see,
Yeah.
and I like how I feel. And don't get me wrong, if someone gets a bit antsy and I get like, I want to, sometimes I feel like I can slip back to the way I am. Yeah. But that's a split second. And that's what I'm trying to educate these kids to do. Don't think like that, because afterwards you will feel better because you walked away. And it doesn't make you a coward. It doesn't make you weak. You're just choosing to not manifest that in your brain. You know, don't let no one have no control.
But what you're doing now, Paul, I think you're putting out some really good stuff across your socials and across your platforms and your podcast. Where can people find you these days?
So I'm on all social media platforms, Paul Stansby podcast. If you want my tattoo one, it's Lucky 13 Paul Stansby. But my podcast channel is all about trauma. So me and you have podcasted some of the same people. Yeah. How you podcast is phenomenal. It's unreal. And James English better watch out, because you're coming for that space. I'm telling you that now. And I know I said that to you before, but I want the world to know that James better watch out, because you're coming. And that's the truth. I think you're going to be real big in this game. But with me and you, we're a little bit different, because I focus on the trauma and the journey of it. I don't go into the success of violence, you know. Yeah. I stay the other way, and the only time I really go into it is just like a slight backup. Yeah. But I think what you do is absolutely amazing, and I do believe that you're going to be bigger than what you are now by a long shot.
Kind words, mate. And I'm just doing it for a bit of fun.
Yeah, I know you are. I know you are, and that's the crazy thing about it. And I think that's why you're so successful with it, and people warm to you and they like you, and you're a nice person to talk to. And if Dodge reaches out to you at all, come meet this guy, because he's a good person to talk to.
Cool. Paul, very kind words, mate. I really thank you for making the effort, coming all the way you've come today with your lovely wife to come down here and tell your story. It's some story you've got, and what I love, it's gone full circle, and you've really taken all these years at the age of 41 to really find yourself in these last 3 years, and I think you've got a huge future ahead of you.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I appreciate it. And if anyone wants to get at us, like to collaborate whatsoever at these events, like young entrepreneurs that are looking to get known, their business out there, and they want to get away from the street and get heard, get hold of us on any of my social media platforms, and we'll get at you. You can come and have stalls at our event for absolutely free. Come and showcase yourself and show the world what you're truly about.
Quality. Paul, it's an absolute pleasure, mate.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Cheers, man.
Nice one, fella. Cheers, mate.